Okay, let's try seeing what Laura Mulvey is discussing here. So what does visual pleasure exactly mean to you? It says visual pleasure and narrative cinema. Can you try describing what it means or what it implies?
Ma'am, we can say that anything that gives pleasure to the human psyche. कि जब भी हम cinema में जाते हैं, as you told that we are closed in one room and the lights are off, तो वो एक relationship जो हमारा बन जाता है, इसके हिसाब से.
All right. So does it also mean visual as well as oral or any other method of adding pleasure, or does it only mean visual part of the film?
Ma'am, can we say that it is being, satisfied by what you watch, or liking what you're watching, being attracted to what you're watching?
In a way, yes, and in a way, no. I'm saying because all of it can actually apply, all of what you have said can apply, but liking is a different emotion, and loving is a different emotion, and pleasure is something else, right? So what you have said, all of it applies, but visual pleasure is actually about pleasure that you get by looking at things. Okay, so there are also readings on textual pleasure in film or textual pleasure in any writing. I think some of the French authors did start writing on textual pleasure as well. So if you were talking about textual pleasure, that would relate to what you are hearing in words, or any kind of text. It can also be in a novel or in a short story or in a poem or something else. Okay, so basically this one specifically focuses on visual pleasure, and because film is a medium that has visual and oral elements, which means visual and sound of a few different types. And I did mention in one of my earlier lectures that sound has different elements. For example, when we are talking about sound, we are talking about the dialogues in case of feature film or fiction film. And it can also imply to something called voiceover or narration, which means you are not seeing the person, but you are listening to the voice. Specifically in documentaries, we do talk about voiceover all the time. Sound also includes other elements, for example, music, special effect. For example, you listen to thunderstorm without seeing the thunderstorm, so some kind of special effect can be used. And if you're not looking at clouds, you can still hear the clouds while sitting in a room. Okay, so sound would include dialogues, voiceover, music, sound effects, and also in many cases silence, right? So there would be film scenes where you would say, okay, you cannot hear any kind of sound. So silence is also considered part of very important sound treatment in the film. because silence can also be used to enhance the impact of the film. And apart from that, ambience. Ambience means that there would be a different ambience of a room that is empty or perhaps vacant. If there is no furniture in the room and you enter the room, you will feel that this room has a different feeling or different kind of ambience, as opposed to a room in which a lot of students are sitting, or another room, right? So if you enter a factory area, the ambience would be different. If you enter a stadium, the ambience would be different. And if you enter your own house and nobody is there apart from yourself, you would feel that house. You would feel that house seems a bit different or feels a bit different, etc. I hope you understand what I mean by ambience, because different places have different kind of ambience, and the ambience keeps changing from place to place. Okay, so Laura Mulvey is only talking about visual pleasure, and she feels that Hollywood film quite often uses women for the purpose of pleasure in the film. And she does think that films are created from the perspective of male audience, right? So she thinks that Hollywood film basically caters to the needs of the male audience sitting in the darkness of the theater. And I have mentioned it many times before that in cinema, the viewer has one-to-one relationship with the screen. You do not have one-to-one relationship with television screen in your TV lounge, because many other people may be sitting in the TV lounge and you can be talking to all these people while sitting there, right? So, okay, you can see that I don't have light right now, so that's why I said earlier that I'm not sure how long the UPS will work. Okay, so I'll go back to what I was discussing. I had to turn somebody's mic off because of the noise. Okay, so I was saying that in cinema or in the darkness of the theater, the audience or the viewer has one-to-one relationship with what he is watching on screen. That is called primary relationship, and that's a powerful relationship because audience watches nothing else except what he sees on screen. And when you are watching the screen, television screen at home, you have secondary relationship if you are sitting in front of TV. I'm saying that with TV you have secondary relationship because you may be looking at your own cell phone while watching the TV, or you may be talking to someone else in the room while watching the TV. And sometimes people can do a few different things while watching TV. Okay, so with TV, in the TV lounge, we have a secondary relationship, and with TV screen, we can also have tertiary relationship, which means TV is there just in the background. And TV is playing in your TV lounge while you are in the kitchen. And you can only hear television, TV audio, or you can hear people in the TV program, but you are not there in the room. So that's why I'm saying that with television screen, you have a tertiary relationship. I did mention 4 different types of looks in one of my classes. Can you recall what were those 4 looks? And here Mulvey is talking about pleasure in looking primarily. So can you recall what we discussed about 4 different looks in case of visual content? I said the first look is by the filmmaker through the lens, right? So while making a film, a filmmaker has the first look, or his team has the first look, and they prepare the content or make a film. Viewer has the second look. While sitting in the cinema, viewer watches the TV program, so that is known as second look. And third look is interactive because people discuss stories among them. So third look is interactive, and the fourth look, I did mention that Paul Willman gave the idea of the fourth look because of the hypnotizing impact of the screen. Or you can say that Paul Willman wrote this story, this theory, which says it is looking at you, and by saying it is looking at you, he means that screen is looking at you. He feels that screen hypnotizes the audience like a gorgon, and screen does not allow the viewer to look somewhere else, which means whatever people watch on screen can have a very powerful impact on them. So Paul Willman wrote this theory of fourth look, where screen can be used to dominate viewers' perspective or point of view in regards to a certain issue. So Paul, you can say that screen can be used for propaganda, and when cinema was created, screen was used by many governments across the world for propaganda purposes. For example, Hitler used it. Hitler is producer of Triumph of the Will, which is a propaganda classic. Okay, so Triumph of the Will was used to communicate war messages. So it created the idea of unison in case of Hitler. So I'm saying that when we are talking about different types of look, Mulvey is actually talking about visual pleasure and looking, and visual pleasure in text is something else, which means that when you're listening to dialogues by protagonists or other characters in the film, you can actually get lost. You can fully absorb in the messages of the film, and you can derive whatever meaning you want to derive from those words. Here, the meaning would be.
Sorry to interrupt you. The fourth one is when the cinema is manipulating the people, because first is filmmaker through his lens, and then it's people watching the film, and then it's people discussing it, and the fourth is being manipulated, or
Yes, fourth is about manipulation because it says it is looking at you. It says that cinema screen actually, like a gorgon, it attracts viewers' attention, and there are, because you can say like that at time over 100 people can be sitting in cinema, and those people are not looking somewhere else; they are looking only at the screen, right? So he says that just like a gorgon, for example, a cobra or a snake or some dangerous element, some dangerous animal that does not allow you to look somewhere else. People, there is this sort of thing, myth, that if a gorgon captures somebody's sight, people cannot look somewhere else. So it says that it is looking at you and it does not allow you to, for example, use your common sense to understand things. So that's why he thinks that screen creates this hypnotic impact, and it hypnotizes people in a way. It does not let them think, and screen is used for propaganda by perhaps elite or by big groups or conglomerates that use cinema for manipulating thought process of the audience. In other words, it means that cinema can influence us in many ways. So he's just saying that fourth look is by the screen. It is looking at you. It does not allow you to look somewhere else, you know. So all it means that it transfixes its audience uh, who cannot their own logic to understand things. People believe in what they watch on screen. Okay, so Malve is actually talking about visual pleasure in cinema, and that pleasure is about, about pleasure of looking at images, and particularly images of women. She thinks that cinema promotes pre-existing pattern of female fascination. And if we are talking about different cultures have their own codes that apply to fascination, which is at work within an individual. It means that some people may say that, like what kind of women they like, or some people may be very conventional. They say that they prefer women who are very conventional and traditional, and at the same time people may still have pleasure by looking at images of dirty dancers on the screen, right? So she's only referring to images of all sort of women that can bring some sort of pleasure to the viewer, and she thinks that this fascination is already at work within the individual. So in certain ways it is this fascination is cultural, and at the same time it applies to characters that are passive like traditional women, or characters that are very active like a prostitute in a film. So she says that cinema actually promotes the pre-existing pattern of female fascination, which are already there in the individual subject. Okay, and these modes of pleasure are also there in the social formations that have molded the male audience. So primarily she is talking about male audience. She's talking about pleasure of male. She's not focusing on pleasure of a female viewer inside the theater, because she thinks that films are created or made to please male audience in the darkness of the theater. Okay, so she also thinks that these images actually promote socially established interpretations of sexual differences, which means that cultures may say, women should be like this and men should be like this. Cultures may emphasize on femininity of women or masculinity of males, and a few different things, like, for example, men don't cry. So that is an interpretation of sexual difference, and all she means that these serve as controlling images or controlling stereotypes of sexual difference that cinema actually promotes. When she said visual pleasure, she also means, as I said, she means passive women, and she also means active women. So it says that cinema promotes erotic ways of looking and spectacle. So primarily she is focusing on psychoanalysis of visual pleasure. Okay, and when she says psychoanalysis, she means that the unconscious of patriarchal society has structured film form. This is the last line in this first para here. Okay, she does feel that these controlling images are there in the unconscious of the viewer, and he unconsciously images these controlling images in certain ways. In case of masculinity and femininity, she means that these concepts are centered around the paradox of phallocentrism. This is the first line on top of para 2, and by phallocentrism, she means that phallocentrism emphasizes on male sexual difference or male organ, and when you talk about male organ, the image of a castrated woman emerges, because woman does not have the uh, same organ. So that's where the image of castrated woman appears, and this image becomes the linchpin within the symbolic system that says that men are in charge of family, or father is the head of the family, and the son should walk into the shoes of the father. She does mean that this image of castrated woman or phallocentrism that is based on male sexual difference or main organ, she says this idea emphasizes on the lack of a woman. Woman doesn't have it, and male has it. So we are talking about presence in case of male and absence in case of female. So this same idea is reproduced in the form of masculinity and femininity within cinema, and her lack becomes important as she raises her child within the same symbolic. And the child also has male child. We are talking about male child. She raises her within the symbolic, and male child has this fear that if he does not walk into the shoes of the father, he can also be castrated like the mother. So visual pleasure actually focuses on castration anxiety within male audience. Castration anxiety because in mother it is absent. So mother is primarily conceived as absent or female absence, and males it emphasizes on male presence. Okay, so that's why she says that the function of woman in forming the patriarchal unconscious is twofold. She symbolizes the castration threat by her real absence of the male sexual organ, and thereby she raises her child into the symbolic. Okay, so is it clear what it means in terms of castration anxiety and in terms of this real absence, which is based on phallocentrism? Do I need to explain it further, or is it clear? Okay, does anyone have इस castration anxiety only means, देखें कि male और female का जो difference है, physical या sexual difference जो है, that is based on a particular organ that men have and women do not have, right? So that is why she is saying कि male audience, male has ये इसमें लिखा हुआ है phallocentrism, actually it implies that male has this sexual organ and women don't have it. So phallocentrism actually is from the word phallus, and phallus is the word that is used for male sexual organ. Okay, so that is why she's saying that in woman it is absent. So in case of social performance, woman becomes as you know, her real absence of that particular organ emphasizes her absence in terms of performance. So male becomes the subject and woman becomes the object, because the difference is based on physical difference, which means this organ is absent in women. So phallocentrism comes from there. Okay? आपको पता है ना, you are familiar कि woman और man में basic difference जो है वो actually sexual difference
Yes, ma'am.
है ना.
समझ
So
जी
that's
जी
why
समझ
she's saying कि वो that is why she's talking about castration anxiety कि जो बेटा है, he has the castration anxiety. If he does not live like his father, he feels कि he will be castrated like the mother. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So basically this difference creates the symbolic order, which means man becomes the head of the family. She becomes in charge of everything that is provided in a home, in charge of goods, in charge of the home economy. It's in most cases it is male's responsibility to provide food or to get money to provide goods that everyone needs, right? So after the father, son is in charge of those matters. Women are not expected to provide in many cultures. So you should know that Laura Mulvey is British, and she has been writing on French films and American films, primarily Hollywood films, and she's talking about uh, pleasure in Hollywood films because of imperialization of Hollywood cinema. And I said that Hollywood cinema was seen all over the world. It was part of cinemas in many countries. For example, we always had American films in our cinemas. We occasionally had Indian film in our cinemas, but our people have always been watching Indian films. So we can say that Hollywood, Bollywood, and Lollywood are part of popular cinema in Pakistan. Pakistani audience watches the three type of cinemas. So Laura Mulvey is primarily emphasizing on symbolic order that films create and films reinforce, and that symbolic order in most cases emphasizes on patriarchy. And it does say that within this symbolic order, man is the bearer of meaning, not she is so woman is so man actually creates meaning. Women do not create meaning in any sense. So it just says that because women, or the silent image of woman tied to her place as bearer of meaning, she is not the maker of meaning. So primarily she is saying that within this visual pleasure or construction of meaning between different characters in a scene, woman is the object and man is the subject. Okay? Any question? So it also says that the frustration is experienced under the phallocentric order. So male phallocentrism causes oppression and frustration, and female characters only are there to create meaning for whatever the man is wanting or emphasizing. I would quickly go to the other article, So here she's only saying that mise-en-scène, and I explained what mise-en-scène means. It means everything there on the screen, or everything which is part of a frame, actually adds to the pleasure. which means whatever you see in a frame, not just the characters, but everything else. It includes sound, it includes lighting, props, and every other thing which is part of mise-en-scène. So mise-en-scène actually means that everything which is there in a scene is used to enhance the pleasure. All she's saying that formal mise-en-scène is used to promote dominant ideological differences, right? So earlier she said cinema emphasizes on sexual differences between male and female. So it is used as a political weapon to communicate certain meanings to both the genders and to all different audiences. So primarily she is emphasizing on pleasure that film gives by looking at images of women within the mise-en-scène or within the frames of the film. And she says that this pleasure is also source of satisfaction and reinforces the male ego. She's talking about pleasure in looking, fascination with the human form. By this, she means that the male viewer sitting in the cinema identifies with the male image on the screen, which means the viewer identifies with the male protagonist in the scene. And through the image of his like, which means the male protagonist on the screen looks like the male viewer sitting in the cinema. So male viewer, through the image of his like on the screen, he's not only gazing at the woman on the screen, but through the male audience, he gets control of the woman inside the film or within the diegesis. Okay. These images create voyeur, and I think you can understand that voyeurism is about sexual pleasure that one has by looking at someone, right? So voyeurism is about pleasure in looking or sexual pleasure in looking, and all it implies that cinema allows you to, cinema creates that voyeur and male viewer becomes part of the voyeur. So voyeur means that scopophilia is important, or scopophilic pleasure or pleasure in looking is emphasized when we are talking about visual pleasure. Any question about voyeur, visual pleasure, or the role of male audience in having the pleasure while sitting in the cinema? Laura Mulvey is actually emphasizing on scopophilic pleasure that a male has while sitting in the cinema. Okay, so as we all know that Western culture is different from our culture. So this article only tries to see what is the difference between pleasure in the West and pleasure from Pakistani perspective. Though Mulvey herself is talking about pre-existing pattern of fascination. And she's talking about symbolic, she's talking about castration anxiety, she's talking about film's emphasis on sexual differences, film's emphasis on masculinity and femininity, film's emphasis on what role women have and what role men have. So we can understand that though some of the concepts sound very similar to the concepts which we use in Pakistani society, this article only tries to understand if there is any difference because Western culture is different from Pakistani culture. It says that this article is further divided in two parts, which are about visual pleasure in films before 1979 and visual pleasure in Pakistani films after 1979. Why this date is important? It says the Motion Picture Ordinance was issued in 1979. This was issued during the Zia era. And in Pakistan, film fraternity and people quite often blame General Ziaul Haq for the decline of the cinema industry. I think I said it before that the film fraternity and many people try to say that film was doing great during Bhutto's era, and it was performing poorly during and after General Zia's era. So film fraternity and people tend to blame Zia era, and they tend to make him responsible for decline of film in Pakistan. I said before that film is a business, and business is basically about numbers. So it does not make sense to me that people blame Ziaul Haq for the decline of Pakistani film. I'm saying so because of the numbers. Pakistan has produced more than 4,000 films until today. The number is not exactly 4,500 until now. So you can understand that we have produced films a little over 4,000 in 70 years. About 1,000 of these films, by saying about 1,000, I mean something like 970 or 970 or more than 970, perhaps 974 or 978 films were made during the Zia era. So if Pakistan made almost a quarter of its total films during the Zia era, which would be less than, which would be about 1/7 of Pakistan's total life, we can say that one quarter of Pakistan's total films were produced more or less in Zia era. So if the number was high, we cannot say that Zia is responsible for decline in terms of numbers of films. The only difference that I noticed is that more films in regional languages were produced during the Zia era. Many women joined film industry during Zia era. Out of 15 women filmmakers who have been producing Pashto films, for example, 8 women started making Pashto films during the Zia era. So I'm saying out of 15 until today, 8 women filmmakers were making films, Pashto films during the Zia era, and the number of Punjabi films also increased during the Zia era. So we still need to analyze, we can probably talk about moral decline as lots of people talk about visual pleasure in Pashto films and visual pleasure in Punjabi films, because Punjabi films were increasingly emphasizing on dirty dances, which means women will be dancing in the rain. So if they were dancing in the rain, they were actually revealing, their dresses were revealing their bodies in certain cases. And Pashto films often emphasized on rape or attempt to rape, right? Um, I haven't posted an article in this classroom on rape in Pakistani films, but I can share that article with you. And you can see that rape is also used to give pleasure in many cases. Okay, so I'm saying that that reading is not part of visual pleasure and gaze in film theory and uh, criticism class, but I can share the article if anybody is interested in reading the article. So, as I said that we are talking about 1979, and we discuss how Pakistani films uh, offered pleasure in looking before 1979 and after 1979. I would like to mention, for example, NEFDEC, National uh, Association for, it was Film Development Corporation of Pakistan, right? So NEFDEC was emphasizing uh, on the production of Urdu films for a very long time. I'm not saying that NEFDEC did not allow production of films in other languages, but more films were produced in Urdu language. And Urdu films tend to promote traditional introvert, chui mui girls. Okay, it means that women should be introvert, passive, traditional. These chui mui girls never raise their eyes before elderly and men. And these Chuimui girls are expected to closely guard their self-respect, premarital and post-marital sexuality, which means that Chuimui girls protect what Malve calls their physical, their sexual genius for their husbands. And it does say that these pre-existing patterns are not only there in the audience, these form pre-existing patterns of fascination, but it also shows the anxiety of the male viewer with the female form, and also on social formations. And epistemology means system of thought and knowledge of a culture. So all these things are already there in the audience. Okay, so visual pleasure is about anxiety with the female form. So it just says that male is in charge of the symbolic order. It emphasizes on male presence and female absence in functions of everyday life. And all it says that films actually emphasize on sexual differences and pre-existing patterns of female fascination. So I'm just trying to say that through this article, we will try to analyze the difference between visual pleasure in American or Hollywood films or foreign films and visual pleasure in Pakistani films. Okay, so in this part, only an incident is quoted. You may be familiar with the incident. For example, it says that in past couple of decades, this article was written in 2014. So you can understand we are talking about 2 decades before 2014, or a decade that began towards the end of the past century. Many advertising billboards were destroyed by throwing ink on women's faces. It says Pakistani cinema billboard featuring accentuated curves of bold and beautiful actresses in seductive costumes were harmed, while women in advertising billboards were not in seductive costumes. They could be in sleeveless shirts, etc. Women on cinema billboards were in seductive costumes. Cinema billboards emphasized women's curves. But it says that advertising billboards were harmed and cinema billboards were not harmed. So it's just trying to understand why people who were harming or throwing ink on billboards, why they threw ink on advertising billboards and they did not throw any ink on images of women on cinema billboards. Can you try explaining why attackers ruined advertising billboards and ignored cinema billboards? There is a difference between the way you look at an advertising billboard and a cinema billboard. You look at an advertising billboard while crossing it in your car or any other vehicle, while most cinema billboards are are inside cinema buildings. You can look at them from the road outside and you can look at them while standing inside the cinema building. So it is just saying that women on advertising billboards, images of women were destroyed. And you can look at them while on highway. So this is a way of condemnation, that somebody is condemning women's images on these billboards. So Durya Kazi says that religious groups are targeting women in revealing clothes on advertising billboards, but these religious groups are not attacking images of women on cinema billboards. So it leaves a question, why are the advertising billboards attacked and cinema billboards not attacked? Why this disparity in the behavior of the religious adherent? All right. So here it just says, what kind of system of thought and knowledge is there in the mind of the religious adherent? System of thought and knowledge of a culture in his mind. Because this thought and knowledge of Pakistani culture guides the religious adherent to attack the advertising billboard while he leaves the cinema billboard unharmed. Why this disparity in this performance or in his behavior? Why is he attacking the images of sensuous women on billboards, advertising billboards, and not on cinema billboards? So what is the difference in terms of finding a woman on advertising billboard threatening? Because he is attacking the image of the woman on advertising billboard, it means that he found the image of the woman on advertising billboard threatening, and he does not think that the image of the woman on cinema billboard is threatening the same way. It only says that perhaps because it is trying to explain, it seems that women on advertising billboard appear to him out of his reach. This difference is probably about her ability to speak or not speak a certain language, or socioeconomic conditions that are or that may be linked to any of the two women on the advertising billboard or cinema billboard. In cinema, on cinema screen, like the women, cinema was getting most women from red light area in the past. And advertising industry was getting all kind of models that could come from the red light area, but many of them actually belong to good families. So because these women in many cases were coming from better socioeconomic background, it probably implies that the woman on advertising billboard was outside his reach. She was outside the reach of common man or the religious adherent who was attacking the image of the model on the advertising billboard. Because this woman in many cases looked groomed. She had liberal looks, and she probably belonged to a better socioeconomic background. She probably could speak English language in certain cases. She knew how to walk, like catwalk, for example, and more she offered this type of gestures or bodily impressions in terms of body language. More and more she felt to him outside his reach. So this inability to control the object actually resulted in attacking the object. On the other hand, this educated woman, or the woman who looked educated or groomed on the advertising billboard, she was offensive to the religious adherent as she reversed his role as the subject. Why I am saying that she reversed the role, she offered role reversal to the male viewer, because on advertising billboards, these women try to sell different products. And because male is considered in charge of goods, woman selling the product is in charge of the good within that frame. This role reversal he perhaps does not like, and that is the reason he attacks the woman on advertising billboard, because she's trying to sell him a product and evoking fears of being a product of a woman himself. So it just says that this religion's adherence probably finds her grooming offensive. This grooming of the woman on the advertising billboard challenges the subject-object relationship, and it hurts his sense of pride. While celebrity does not hurt his sense of pride, celebrity on the cinema screen gives him the visual pleasure. She allows him to take control of the woman within the diegesis in the darkness of the theater. So he takes control of the woman on the cinema screen through the male protagonist or through the image of his like, while he's unable to take control of the woman on the advertising billboard. And on top of it, she is trying to sell a good to him while he is in charge of the goods. Okay? So he condemns the distanciation of what should be the object for the subject. Here it only means that according to the symbolic order, male is the subject and woman is the object. But the woman on advertising billboard distantiates herself from him as an object. Any question? Any question means that you can agree and you can also disagree with what I have said. So if you disagree, it will help us discuss certain other dimensions of the theory. All it is saying here that he condemns the distanciation of woman on the advertising billboard. This woman is distanciated as an object. She is trying to behave like a subject, and she is trying to advertise or sell a project. She is hurting subject-object relationship, while the woman on cinema billboard is not hurting subject-object relationship. She remains an object, and he takes control of the object in the darkness of the theater through the image of his like. This paragraph only says the celebrity fulfills the needs of the subject as an object, while the icon sells him a product or tries to sell him a product, challenging his status as a produce, the fruit of the seed sown in the field. A being is condemned as a subject. Being only implies that a human being, okay? Okay. So despite producing the male child, the power is delegated to the male child in most cases, right? But in this case, this power is challenged. It only says that the attacker attacks the role reversal attempt of the advertising icon, while she's trying to sell the product to him while he is in charge of goods. And as I said, Derrida says, and Eugenio, it also mentions Derrida and Derrida's and other authors who actually said that Logos is in charge of goods. Logos is head of the family, and Logos means father. Father is in charge of goods. And after Logos, Toko. Toko, or the son, is the in charge of goods. And the woman on the advertising billboard is trying to sell a good, which means she is trying to reverse the role, and she is refusing to be the object. She is challenging the subject-object relationship. And it does say that this action actually makes her unreachable, like the celebrity who offers him the satisfaction of subject-object relationship and the power of gaze. Gaze means that he can look at her and he can gaze at her, and celebrity would surrender to him because she would surrender to the male protagonist within the film. Okay, so celebrity satisfies his ego and superego and libido, while an advertising icon or model does not satisfy his ego, superego, and libido in a similar fashion. Here it only says that because Motion Picture Ordinance was issued in 1979, and General Ziaul Haq, through different orders, actually controlled content of films, and he also destroyed many films and content and record of many films in even 1984. That was under the Martial Law Ordinance, or MLO 1984. So Zia forced Islamization in Pakistan, and which means that because of the Islamization, uh, the tendency to control visual pleasure increased in Pakistan. So the article is actually saying what kind of images cinema was offering before 1979 and what kind of images it was offering after 1979, because many people blame Zia of decline in Pakistani film. I feel that people probably mean moral decline because they are talking about emergence of Dirty Dancer in cinema after Zia era. Okay, and this kind of Dirty Dancer was not in film, in the earlier film. So earlier films promoted women uh, who were in many cases Urdu speaking. So these women were offering certain kind of visual pleasure to the male audience. This article focuses on, it does mention scenes from a 1960s film, Kaidi, and this is a song from the film. Just try to see how the woman looks in this scene. As I said earlier, this is a scene from an Urdu film, so you can understand what kind of women Urdu films were promoting before the Zia era, and I can also show you a scene from a Punjabi film before Zia era, and you can see what kind of images Punjabi films were promoting before the Zia era. So just try to see the body language and behavior and dress of this woman on the screen. Also try to understand the environment she is in. Try to see where she is standing and how she is behaving, how she looks, the way she is dressed, and the way she looks at the audience. As I said, that if a performer or an actor looks in the camera while a scene is being shot, the actor actually makes an eye contact with the viewer through the lens of the camera. If the viewer is looking into the lens, if the character is looking into the lens, the viewer will feel that the character is looking directly in his eyes. So try to see where this character is looking. If she's looking in the camera, or if she's making an eye contact with the viewer through the lens. Just try to see her body language and try to see where she is and how she's behaving. Okay, can somebody try describing how she's behaving or where she's looking and what kind of pleasure she's offering to the audience or to common man sitting in the cinema? Can someone someone try to explain what she's doing and if she is offering any pleasure to anyone? Shamimara here is protagonist in film Kaidi, and it does say that Kaidi is a 1960 is a 1960s film. I think it does have a date at the start. Um, right. Can you try explaining how she's behaving or how she is dressed and what kind of body language she is offering to the viewer? Kaidi 1962. Shamimara is the artist, and uh, her name in the film is Ismat. You can see that this woman is not making an eye contact with the viewer because she never looks in the camera. As she doesn't look in the camera, she does not make an eye contact with the viewer or with the male protagonist. She keeps her eyes low, and it only says that Urdu films before 1979 were specifically focusing on on her kind of chui mui girls, the woman, a girl who never made an eye contact with the male or an eye contact with the elderly. She is trained like this. She is trained to behave the way she is behaving. And in Pakistani culture, we call this kind of woman Sharmo Haya ki Putli. Putli itself is a strange word because Putli actually means a puppet in our language. So if you call her Putli or puppet, we are actually talking about an object who offers pleasure in looking, pleasure in gaze. So all it says that many people would be very happy to look at this woman, and because cinema was offering this kind of image before 1979, you can also see the dress she's wearing. This is the dress of the Urdu speaking elite from Delhi and Lucknow, right? So you can see that Urdu films were actually promoting the norms of the Urdu speaking elite from Delhi and Lucknow, and Urdu films were also promoting the dress of this particular Urdu speaking elite. I can show you a scene from a Punjabi film of 1955. So you can see that this is Noor Jahan standing in the middle. Noor Jahan, our famous Pakistani singer. So Noor Jahan is standing in the middle. She is holding a stick in her hands, and she is holding the stick behind her head, behind her head or behind the neck, and you can see that by holding the stick in this way, she has a certain body language. All other women inside in this scene do not have the similar body language. Do you think that Noor Jahan is not as traditional as our other women in this frame? All other women are also wearing dupatta. She's wearing dupatta. They are wearing similar kind of dress. Some women have the scarves on their heads. Some do not have scarves in their head. They just have dupatta on their shoulders, right? And no woman apart from Noor Jahan has this kind of body language. So do you think she is as traditional as is Shamimara in the earlier scene?
No, ma'am.
But this is
she's थोड़ा सा liberated much better than the previous one. और I was thinking कि ये जो आप कह रही हैं कि बाकियों के सर पे दुपट्टा भी है और वो उनका body language भी और है, तो it could be the reason कि the filmmaker wanted to make a clear demarcation between the heroine and the sideliners. है ना,
sure.
ये भी तो हो सकता है.
Yes, definitely, because she is the protagonist and she should look different from others. But you can also see what in terms of environment that Noor Jahan has right here and the environment that Shamimara had in the earlier scene.
वो थोड़ा सा क्लोज था, इसको उन्होंने थोड़ा सा ओपन में रखा है.
Sure.
Like she is जी.
Okay, so you can see that the traditional Urdu woman behaved differently than the traditional Punjabi woman, right? Here we are seeing a traditional Punjabi woman because Noor Jahan is the protagonist in the film and she is a very traditional girl. She believes in traditions and norms. So you cannot say that this woman lacks the tradition in any manner. But she definitely has a body language which is very different from the body language of the woman in the earlier scene. Ismat or Shamimara had a certain body language that she was in a closed space. She was yearning for her lover in her privacy, right? And Shamimara is not yearning for anyone in her privacy. She is a traditional woman, just as we noticed that Shamimara was also a traditional woman in the earlier scene, right? So you can see that Urdu films were promoting a traditional woman who hardly made an eye contact with a male. Do you think that that Noor Jahan is making an eye contact with Alauddin in this scene? Because this group of girls, they are roaming in their village. They are free to roam around in the village, and group of men or boys, young boys, stops them. So Alauddin here stops Noor Jahan, and he not only stops her, he dances for her. He is, you can see a girl's scarf on Alauddin's shoulders, right? So you can see that Alauddin, let me turn off the sound. Just try to see the difference. Try to see if Noor Jahan is making an eye contact with the male, because Shamimara was not trying to make an eye contact. She was avoiding the eye contact in the earlier scene. So that's why I said that textual pleasure is also there in the scene, in narrative cinema, because Alauddin sings Na Dak Dak Rakh Jawani No. You can see that this 1950s film, the film is about 70 years old, but he is very clearly inviting women to interact with them. And he's inviting traditional Punjabi women to interact with the men in this scene. So you could definitely see that culture in the villages of Punjab is different from the culture that Urdu films try to show. So this woman is freer. This traditional woman can walk in the village. She can go anywhere with her friends, or in the following scene, because when this song ends and you can see that Noor Jahan is standing there watching for this song to complete. If these women wanted, they could walk away, right? They could walk away, but they are standing. They could walk away, but they are standing there and watching their performance. You can see that she is happy But when the song ends, she says, which is also a very common dialogue in Pakistan, she says, "Apni pain nu nahi takya," and I think we can realize that this was a very popular dialogue in Pakistani culture. If a man stopped a woman on the road or sang any kind of lyrics behind her, the women in Punjab often said, घर जाके बहन को देखो या अपनी बहन की खबर लो या घर में माँ बहनें नहीं हैं. So this is precisely what Noor Jahan says here at the end of the song, and showing him her anger. She also says कि चल के इसकी बहन की खबर लेते हैं. Notice that women are showing their displeasure through different kind of gestures. This is Alauddin's sister, Jano, sitting with Pate Khan. And this is what Noor Jahan precisely says, कि जिन्हों अपनी पाटे खान दे नाल अपनी खबर नहीं रही. You can see that Jano is sitting very close to Pate Khan in this scene. Jano is another traditional Punjabi girl. Very clearly, she is in love with Pate Khan. And you can see the body language of the two characters. Their knees are touching each other. They are sitting very close to each other. And they are also holding their, each other's hands, right? So that's why I'm saying that Punjabi film is offering a kind of body language that we did not notice in the earlier scene. And the whole film, Kaidi is available on YouTube. At least it was there when I watched it, and sometimes people remove the films. So you can perhaps still find films. So in various scenes of Kaidi, you will notice that even if Shamimara meets Darpan, who is male protagonist in Kaidi, she does not make an eye contact with Darpan in many cases, or in most cases. And when Darpan asks her, or Darpan is in love with her, and he wants a reaction, a positive reaction from Shamimara, but Shamimara always says no to the male demands, right? So Urdu films normally emphasized on woman's no, which means a Sharmo Haya ki Putli, or a traditional passive Urdu-speaking woman, would always say no, no matter what her heart wanted, right? And a Punjabi woman in this film is shown expressing her emotions for Pate Khan. So Punjabi traditional woman is expressing her emotions to the man in the scene. This film has a story of Pate Khan and Jano. Despite Noor Jahan and Aslam Parvez, you could see that before the song, we watched Aslam Parvez on screen, because he's male protagonist coming to Noor Jahan's home from the city. And when Noor Jahan meets him, she does express her love for Aslam Parvez. And Jano is expressing her love for Pate Khan in this scene, though Pate Khan says that he's scared that Jano's brother would break his bones, right? Despite having fear, you can clearly see that Pate Khan and Jano are expressing their love for each other. And Noor Jahan also expresses her love for Aslam Parvez in this film, and she appears a little, you can say, Sharmili when she expresses her love for, right here she's standing with Aslam Parvez, but she does not know that he is coming to her home, right? That's why she is getting into an argument with him. But when she reaches home, Aslam Parvez is already there, and at that point, she only expresses her love for Aslam Parvez.
जम जम लुको हुजूर ते लुकन मीठी तो प्यार दी पहली पौड़ी हुंदी है.
Okay, so she's making an eye contact with the male protagonist, right? So what I meant that Punjabi films are presenting the traditional Punjabi girl a bit differently. She's more confident. She is not yearning for the lover in the privacy of a room or privacy of her home. This woman is wandering in the village. She's going all around. She's making eye contact with the antagonist, and she is making an eye contact with the protagonist as well. She rejects the antagonist, but she expresses her love to the protagonist very clearly. While Noor Jahan would say, "No, I don't love you," despite being in love with the male protagonist in the film. So you can clearly see that Urdu films demanded that the woman will not openly express her love for the male. Okay, so that's why I said that Urdu films promoted traditional Chui Mui girl, while Punjabi films promoted traditional Punjabi woman who is more confident and who is freer.
जम जम लुको हुजूर ते लुकन.
Okay, so traditional Punjabi girl is freer as opposed to traditional Urdu speaking girl in the film. Any question on what we have discussed so far about women's performance in Urdu and Punjabi film and women's performance in real life and in cinema? So, can anyone describe or try describing how real women lived in 1950s or in 1960s? If you have family albums at home from the time, if you have any pictures in those albums from 1950s or 1960s, perhaps you can comment on how women lived in 1950s or in 1960s Pakistan. So I'm asking you to compare real woman with the woman on the screen. Any idea how women lived in Pakistan before Zia era? Because Zia forced Islamization, so you can try guessing how women lived in Pakistan before the Zia era. Anyone? All this article says that women looked traditional within the scene before Zia era, before 1979. By 1979, I am only referring to the date of issuance of Motion Picture Ordinance. So before Motion Picture Ordinance was issued, women in the film looked like this. They looked very traditional. And there are some images in this article from from 1970s. I'll try to show you the images. Okay, so this is from 1977. Another image from, it says 1977 again, right? And still another image from 1977. You can see that in the first image, the dress is maxi. In the second image, you can see that the woman on the left is wearing bell-bottom pajamas and a shirt. This is probably a double breast shirt. And before 1970s, people in reality were wearing dresses that were often seen in different films. This last one is from Marie, and you can see that a newlywed woman is actually standing on top of the mountains, and she is confidently standing there. But you can also realize that all these are very traditional women in modern dresses, traditional but in very modern dresses, because these are images of women from very traditional homes. I specifically asked someone to share these pictures with me because I knew that this religious family had young boys and girls, you can say sons and daughters, and in their house, often all friends of daughters and all friends of sons gathered and had party. I don't think we see this kind of scenes in Pakistan even today, that our sons and daughters, both sons and daughters, invite all their friends, male friends and female friends, at home and have party. Has any of you experienced such things, that your friends come to your homes and your brother's friends also come to your homes, and you together have a party in which brothers' friends and sisters' friends can socialize with each other? Anyone? Yes, no? I'm not saying, I don't mean your own home. You can talk about any experience from your environment. Like, do you see people, boys and girls, gathering in any house in your neighborhood and having a party? This particular home that I'm referring to, in this house, not only, I said this is a very, very traditional family, and it means that it was sometimes unlikely. It would be unlikely today for a very religious home to have a party for their sons and daughters, where everybody could meet and socialize. But in this party, somebody played music and everybody asked everyone else, does anyone want to dance? And in the end, 2 boys and 2 girls who were actually friends of brothers and sisters ended up dancing on the floor. So this was 1970s Pakistan, while film showed this kind of traditional characters. So what I have said about a traditional family having a dance party at home back in 1970s is true, and it also implies that people were freer in real life, while films were showing traditional women, like in this one, and in the earlier scene from Kadi. The comparison of these images from the film and comparison of images from real life also shows that women in society were freer as opposed to women in film, right? And after Zia's Islamization, this traditional woman, I'm not saying totally disappeared from Punjabi film, but many other women appeared. And those women include dirty dancers or representations of prostitutes in a certain manner. So this is a scene from Sher-e Lahore. It was produced in 2000, which is long after Zia's death. But you can also see that many people blamed Zia era for this kind of nudity. By nudity, I mean what I read in newspapers, right? And you can say that people started criticizing this sort of images because this is a woman from another Punjabi film that falls in the category of post 1979 films. You can say that families stopped going to cinemas because of this kind of images in the films. You can try noticing the body language between the male protagonist and female character in this scene. Okay, so you can clearly see that our dirty dancer in this scene is very different from traditional Punjabi woman in the earlier scene. So this is a post 1979 film, and you will find you can see that this film is actually fragmenting the female body. By fragmenting, I mean it's focusing on different parts of the body, right? And it would show a close-up. It would show, apart from close-up, it would show several different scenes, which means that the film is putting together shots of the body in pieces. It's fragmenting the body, and by fragmenting, it is increasing viewers' interest in the scene. Okay? So that's why I'm saying that post 1979 films include dirty dances of this kind, and that was one reason. That was one reason families stopped going to the cinema, and they said that these images are not suitable for them to view films with their sisters, daughters, and wives, for example. So in post 1979 cinema, you will find common men in the cinema, and this film was a super hit. And as mentioned earlier, Sangeeta is director of this film, and many men directors said if she can present women like this, why can't we present women like this? So what I meant that in the post 1979 era, dirty dances appeared in film scenes, and these dirty dances were not there in pre 1979 films. It does not mean that filmmakers never shot this kind of scenes in pre 1979 era. It only means the scenes were not there in the film. A filmmaker may have shot a scene like this, and he may have shown the woman as an antagonist in the earlier film, but whether he shot or showed her as an antagonist in the earlier film, censor board excised the scene. Censor board never allowed exhibition of a scene like this in pre-1979 era. So it only means that because filmmakers believe in capturing scenes that are important for the story, so filmmaker in pre-1979 era may have shot something like this even in the pre-1979 era, but censor board would have excised the scene, and censor board would not have allowed to show a scene like this in cinema in the pre-1979 era. And as I said, that this is the woman on screen in post-1979 era, you can also imagine that woman in society was not similar to this woman in the post-1979 era because of Zia's Islamization, right? Pakistani women in real life were perhaps never like this. And perhaps women would take a lot of time to be free, like Nirma. And you know, Nirma in this scene, you can see this woman is very active. She's not passive like Shamimara or like Noor Jahan. Those two women, you know, despite being different, they were not as expressive as is Nirma in this scene. This you can see that male protagonist is almost a kind of, he's almost inactive. He's standing in one place and Nirma is roaming all around him, and Nirma is getting hold of his head and pulling him to herself or running to him and getting hold of him. So even if you see an action like this, it's Nirma doing it, and male audience is not, you know, male protagonist is not very active. He may be standing in one place in most of dirty dance scenes and in many even normal scenes where you would see a male protagonist and a female protagonist in a Punjabi film. So earlier films offered a different kind of pleasure as opposed to what we see in films today. Any idea on what kind of strategy these traditional women had? By strategy I mean, you know, if you look at this scene, this woman has a very clear strategy for a relationship with the male character in the film. She's active, and she says, "I am all yours." She's not saying in words, but she's also saying in words, because she says, "Jogi, jogi, jogi, tere ishq." Nikita Rogi. So by Rogi, she means that she's in love with him, and she's very clearly desiring that he should have a relationship with her. This kind of behavior was not there in this scene from Patihan, and we could see that the woman in Patihan is very different or very traditional, right? This is Jano and Patihan, and we did see, Noor Jahan, right? I'm saying that pleasure in looking is different here. Noor Jahan is making an eye contact with the male protagonist. She is a confident traditional Punjabi woman. And in this one, Shamimara is yearning for the male protagonist in the privacy of she may be in a room. Right now she is probably in the garden, right? So you can see that she is not actually going to him or walking to him to express her love for him. In most of the film, you will see her all by herself, yearning for the male protagonist. And later in the film, when the male protagonist, I think he perhaps loses his memory, and that is when Noor Jahan Shamimara comes to him, and she tries to revive, that she tries to express her love, and she says that she always wanted to say yes, but her heart kept on saying no, and she's just trying to help him recover. So unless she had a serious need, she would just stay away from the male protagonist, and she will think about him in her privacy. So she does not have the strategy of I am all yours, right? This woman has a different strategy. When she will meet the male protagonist, she would continue looking down, offering him the pleasure of looking, right? So she's looking down so he can look at her. So that's why I said this woman has a different strategy. She's offering pleasure in looking to the male audience, to the male viewer and the male audience. Pleasure in looking at a woman who does not make an eye contact. She says, I am looking down, doing my job. You can look at me doing yours, right? So she offers pleasure in looking without making an eye contact, while Noor Jahan here, she is also offering a pleasure, but she's making an eye contact with the male protagonist. And she was also making an eye contact when she rejected Alauddin in the earlier scene, right? So that's why I'm saying that all of these women have different strategies for their action or their performance. And you can clearly see that a Dirty Dancers has a different strategy from the strategy of traditional women in these scenes. Any comment? All right. So here are some more images from earlier films. It says Jalwa 1966, again, the image is offering you traditional or showing you traditional culture of Urdu speaking families. You can see how men and women are behaving in this particular image. And if you look at Laura Mulvey's article here, right, she is talking about sexual genius of women in this kind of images. She says that this woman would save her virginity for the husband, and she would show her sexual genius only to the husband. While, as I said, this is an image from 1966. Here are some images from 1970s and 1970s and 80s, right? And 90s also. So Mumtaz is dancing in a 1974 Punjabi film Naukar Votida, and Saima is dancing on the mountains in the image on the left in a post 1979 film. Durya Kazi says that films showed freer women who could dance on roads, who could dance on mountains, who could dance anywhere, while women never danced like this in Pakistan in real life. So films were actually showing women who were freer to express their emotions. And these are other images from post-1979 films. The one on the left is of Nirma from film Qayamat, which is an Urdu film. And the one on the right is also from an Urdu film 2000, Urdu film Commando 2003. So you can see that women in Urdu films changed tremendously in post-1979 films. In pre-1979 era, these women could only be antagonists in the films. In post-1979 era, these films were not just antagonists, because they could be anything, because post-1979 film started showing modern women and also antagonists as freer women. So this, the image on the left probably would be more shocking for audience from 1970s because of the postures Laila and Babrak have in the film and body language of the two characters in the scene. Even Haya Ali in Ziddi Rajput looks freer because this is an image. You could. She's probably in bedroom, and you can see what kind of body language she has. This body language is very different from the body language that this woman is offering, or Rani is offering in 1973 Pyasa, right? Or Shamimara is offering in 1966 Jalwa. Okay, so the male protagonist could get Jalwa, which means he could get a glimpse of Shamimara's face, and he could be in love forever because of the glimpse that he captured. And pre-1979 films will show that a glimpse or a sight of woman's face was sufficient for the male or for the male protagonist to think about her forever, right? And post 1979 films would show more than a glimpse. You can clearly see that woman is in action. She's very active. She's not passive like traditional woman. She's expressing her emotions very openly. She is dancing around male, and she is more active than the male in this particular shot or scene. So the women, all of these images are offering pleasure in looking, and this pleasure is suitable for one type of male audience or the other. All right, so it just says that pleasure and looking was different in pre-1979 films, and reality of life was different in pre-1979 and post-1979 films. Even when we were looking at images like this in post-1979 films, women were not so much free in real life. Women perhaps would not be so much free in real life. And in the post-1979 era, we see more and more abaya culture in Pakistan, right? So it started because of Zia's Islamization, but when women became freer in film, in this, you can say this is not real life, this is just a representation of life, but this representation is not showing the reality of Pakistan. It does not represent reality because women outside are often seen in abaya. And abaya culture was increasing in post-Zia era. Okay, so if you look at pleasure in earlier films, you can say that the pleasure was in looking on shy women, and post-1979 changed the pleasure in looking by presenting bold women, bold and beautiful women. We can't say that Nirma looks ugly. She looks beautiful despite her despite the boldness that these scenes are offering, right? So you can see that bold and beautiful women replaced replaced what we called Sharmo Haya Ki Putli, and what earlier films offered. This woman replaced the woman in the earlier films. And Pakistani films from the times of first Pakistani film Teri Yaad or Phere or Shahida, they were offering traditional women, and these seductive sensuous dances actually replaced the traditional woman of Urdu films. Okay, so increasingly these women appeared in Sher-e-Lahore. We just watched a scene from Sher-e-Lahore, and Meera in Intiha, that was a film by Samina Pirzada. Again, I said this film is by a woman producer director Sangeeta, and Intiha is by Samina Pirzada, and Samina Pirzada shot rape scenes for the film. So earlier films would have been, censor board would have censored a rape scene in an earlier film. A rape scene of the kind that was there in Intaha would have been excised in pre-1979 era. But in post-1979 era, it was included in the film. Dirty dances were there in many films. Sayyid Noor shot it in for Chudiyan, though most of Sayyid Noor films are considered clean films, means that elite audience or families can watch Sayyid Noor's films without embarrassment. And many like post 1979 films were showing dirty dances, like Didar was in Hundi Run and Khushbu in Sajan Ka Pyar. So these women were extroverts, we can say that Nirma here is an extrovert because she is expressing her emotions for the male in the scene. While Chui girl is an introvert, right? She selfishly guards traditions. She selfishly guards virginity. And this Western concept of showing your love to your lover is not promoted by the earlier films. Western society often says that if you are in love, you have to express yourself. And we can understand what expressing love for the partner means in Western societies. So Chui Mui girls were trained to selfishly guard their traditions. They were trained to selfishly guard their virginity without sharing it with anyone and keep it safe for the prospective husband. Right? So Laura Mulvey would actually say that these passive women were suitable for marriage, which means Nirma is not suitable for marriage, while Shamimara here or Noorjahan in this one is very suitable for marriage. And she is judged on the basis of face and figure. You can look at her while she's looking down. You can judge her on the basis of face and figure. She is passive. She is not active. You can judge, and she is suitable for giving birth to next generation, while the woman in this one is also suitable for giving birth to next generation, but the woman in this scene is not suitable for giving birth to next generation. Okay, so all it says that passive women are judged on the basis of face and figure, and they are suitable for marriage. And when Darpan finds a woman like Shamim Ara, or Aslam Pervez finds a woman like Noor Jahan in this scene, they are both lucky. They have found her, and she's lucky she has found him by saving her virginity for him. Okay, so womanhood means, like respect, self-respect. She closely guards her self-respect and the respect for womanhood, meaning sexuality, without losing her premarital virginity or postmarital respect by getting involved in adultery or in extramarital affairs, whether under normal or extreme circumstances, which mean a passive woman would guard her honor in extreme circumstances as well. And as Sadaf Ahmed says in her article, that if honor is at stake, the family can also murder the woman, because the honor is most important. So you can see that Nirma actually replaced this kind of Chui Mui girl with the bold and beautiful, women of post-1979 era. Any comment on what we have discussed so far? No comment? Okay. So these women actually replaced women of the past from the film. And I'm saying that while women appeared like this in post-1979 films, or like this in pre-1979 films, women in real life were just the opposite in both the eras. When women looked traditional, so traditional like Shamimara in a pre-1979 film, the real woman was actually freer because she was wearing maxis and she was wearing bell-bottom pants, and sometimes people had dance parties at their home. Only that they sometimes did it while at least the father wasn't at home. Mother could be there, but they had respect for their father and they would change an activity or close an activity when the father would walk in. By ending an activity, I mean that they would at least stop dance performance while people could still be there in those spaces. And when women became freer, like Nirma in the film, more and more women were wearing abaya in real life. So that's why I'm saying that as the films of two eras moved in opposite directions, reality also moved in opposite directions. When women are freer in film, we find more women in abaya outside. When women are traditional in films, we find more women in maxis or bell-bottom pants and double-breast shirts in society outside. It says right here that this woman says, "I am all yours." She uses this strategy, and she is as subservient to patriarchy because prostitutes or dirty dancers are also subservient to patriarchy. So this woman actually left behind the norms of the Urdu-speaking elite, right? And when this dirty dancer appeared in Punjabi films, along with her appeared a comedian that many critics or journalists named vulgar comedian, and a villain. So you can see that Punjabi film promoted a trio of dirty dancer, vulgar comedian, and a villain, very aggressive villain, who appeared in post-1979 films. So you would see it in Maula Jat and many other films. And when this aggressive villain or aggressive male protagonist like Mustafa Qureshi and Sultan Rahi appeared in Punjabi cinema, they fought the political system. They fought what they felt was injustice of the system. They provided justice to people. And as I said, that elite rejected this trio of dirty dancer, vulgar comedian, and villain because they felt that hero of Urdu film was better. Hero of Urdu film was polite. He was not as aggressive as Sultan Rahi in many cases, while Punjabi films presented Sultan Rahi as real masculine representation of the culture. So Punjabi films were showing aggressive heroes who could stand there and the woman would dance around them. Urdu films were showing male heroes who could dance in the films. So, in other words, that hero of Urdu film who could dance was considered fake because he was not representing masculinity properly, or he was not aggressive as men in many cases. So he appeared fake when this hero of Punjabi films appeared and he was aggressive. And these films presented the trio of dirty dancer, vulgar comedian, and uh, extremely strong villain. So you can see that these films were quite graphic in terms of showing aggression. I did say that try to notice Noor Jahan's dress and try to see what kind of dress Shamimara is wearing. And I said that dress was, Shamimara's dress represented norms of Delhi, Urdu speaking elite of Delhi. So you can see that these women, the audience would closely watch Shamimara, who is looking down. The audience would closely watch and enjoy Noor Jahan's expression, because Noor Jahan was looking at Aslam Parvez in this one, and she's making an eye contact with Aslam Parvez. So you would see that audience will try to take, viewer will try to take control of the woman through the image of his like in the cinema, which means that viewer emotionally gets into the shoes of the male protagonist and tries to take control of the woman in the diegesis, and he is happy if the film has a happy ending. And Urdu films often promoted stories of hijr and gaze. Hijr means separation of the protagonist, and hijr and wasal, which means unification of the protagonist. So they offered the separation and unification stories of the male protagonist. And this kind of plot was also again very pleasing, and audience could really enjoy this kind of scene. So you can say that these films offered exclusive Eastern gaze in case of Punjabi women here, and exclusive Eastern gaze that Urdu films promoted in the pre-1979 era. And this gaze was giving a certain type of pleasure. And even this image of Nirma offers gaze of a certain kind. So all it says that all these images do show women were subservient to the system or to men, and they offered pleasure of certain kind through their passive images or through their active images. Laura Mulvey says that Shamimara's condition is the condition of all women born to be defined by their physical attributes, born to give birth, or if born pretty, born lucky, a condition which makes it possible and acceptable within the bourgeois ethic for girls to parade silent and smiling. Parade silent and smiling means that Shamimara would walk before a prospective husband when he comes to her house. She would parade silently, she would smile, and she would be judged on the merits of face and figure and on the merits of passivity, and she would be found suitable for marriage. Okay, so in fact, Caddy is offering a woman that is judged on the merit of face and figure, and she's classified. She offers classified yearning for a prospective husband, and in that classified yearning that is not public, she shows, uh, you know, uh, it represents her unspoken and unshown genius for sexuality for a prospective husband. So the emphasis is on unspoken and unshown sexual genius. And that is why it says that she's suitable for giving birth to the next generation. She's lucky, and he's also lucky. Finding her fulfills the bourgeois ethic by providing a suitable ground to begin an uneven power relationship. Male maturity is coupled with female immaturity. So you can see that this post 1979 woman looks more mature than this pre 1979 woman of Urdu film. This film is coupling male maturity with female innocence, that women should be passive, morbid, and innocent. So pleasure was in looking at an innocent woman, and a woman who followed the bourgeois ethic by providing or offering unspoken and unshown genius for sexuality. Any comment? We have discussed this, that the happiness or pleasure in looking would be different in all of these images, as elite rejected later images. Elite rejected images of this kind of woman in post 1979 cinema. We can say that the elite actually rejected the women who were showing their desire for sexuality or for male outside the privacy of bedroom. Elite demanded that the gaze should be nocturnal as opposed to diurnal. This gaze is diurnal because it has come outside the privacy of bedroom, and this gaze is nocturnal. And Shamimara's is also very, very private and nocturnal. The elite demanded that the gaze on a woman's face or body should be private, not diurnal. And diurnal is insult, and diurnal is bad and not suitable for family, because the family says sex is base, and family does not allow that it should be taken outside the privacy of bedroom. Okay, so families emphasize on, and the censor board also emphasizes on gaze to be private. It should be fine if Shamimara and Darpan had it in privacy of their spaces, and it is bad because Nirma is offering gaze outside the privacy of bedroom. So Shan here only says, Shan says that why does the elite want to take away entertainment of the common man who works perhaps 8 to 12 hours per day, if he's happy looking at someone like Nirma after having performed a long job or worked for 8 to 12 hours per day, if he's sitting in the cinema and having pleasure in looking at this woman. Shan says, what problem does elite have? Why does he want to take away the entertainment of the common man who works all day and then comes to the cinema? for pleasure. So Shan was actually supporting this kind of erotic exhibition in cinema. So it only says that people who organized Miss World competition said that women who are plain object to exhibition of bodies like in this one scene. So Malve actually said this about these women from Miss World competition, that these women display their bodies or exhibit their bodies because they are passive women. And a respondent from the organizer said, only plain women talk like this. So this is another thing that can be considered. One more film that this article mentioned is Chingari from 1964. It says Chingari had a scene and a song that censor board excised, removed from the film. The song was, if we compare it with this one, we will be surprised and we would say, why did censor board remove this film? Because as such, it's not showing anything which is you can say which appears vulgar, right? Okay, so this is a scene from Chingari, and censor board removed this scene altogether. So just try seeing what is happening here. Right? So
चेन तुम रख लो.
right, so you can clearly see that women in this scene are wearing shalwar kameez, typical Pakistani dress, which was there even in 1960s. They are wearing dupatta along with shalwar kameez, though they are walking into clubs. Pakistan had nightclubs until the Zia era, and I believe this scene is from a club on Mall Road, Lahore, right? In this part, you could see that while these women are walking into the club, this taxi driver is looking at these women, right? You can see that women are wearing full dresses and dupattas, but this taxi driver actually sings the song "ए रोशनियों के शहर बता, अंधियारों में उजियारों में, अंधियारों में उजियारों में ये किसने भरा है जहर बता," right? So he is looking at these women and he is looking at these people who are actually walking into the nightclub, and the male, he starts dancing with the woman partner, with the female partner before entering the club. So he's dancing outside and he's dancing inside, and all these young men and women are actually walking into the club and dancing in 1960s Pakistan. The song was censored not because it was showing people, men and women, walking into the club. It was censored because of the lyrics. And it is banned on Radio Pakistan even after 50 years because it's emphasizing on, it says, Gadraye Badan Bal Khate Hain. And very clearly it's talking about voluptuous bodies. Chalke sagar takrate hain. Like people, women are displaying their body by wearing these tight dresses, and dupatta is just hanging in, on their shoulders. So you can actually see the figure of the woman in the scene. So that was the reason, because it pointed to the figures, female figures, and it said, "जिस्मों की नुमाइश होती है, क्यों रात के पिछले पहर यहाँ," which means that clubs were open till late at night, and women were displaying their bodies in such tight dresses. So I'm saying that the song was not censored because of images, it was primarily censored because of the lyrics, because it says jo sharmo haya ko le doobi. Okay, so I'm saying that this song is censored from Radio Pakistan even today, though censor certificates are issued for less number of years. For example, a censor certificate may expire in 5 years or maximum 12 years. So the song is banned even after 50 years. So what is the purpose of banning a film? So it just shows that censor board's ethics were changing over a period of time, because censor board removed this title song from film Chingari in 1966, but it never removed this scene from Chingari. From Sher-e-Lahore. So it leaves a question that censor board left this scene for visual pleasure in a film that was brought to it for the issuance of a certificate in 2000, right? And censor board removed this scene, which is not showing women's body in the manner Nirma's scene is showing. So you can see that it's quite striking that why the censor board releases a scene in a film that it removes from another film. I said earlier that pre-1979 filmmakers were also shooting similar scenes, but censor board was removing those scenes from films prior to exhibition, and post-1979 films were not removing those scenes from films. Malve says that films, when show passive women like Shamimara, they actually point to narrow destiny of women, because Shamimara is showing a lot of physical confines, so physical confines that fit her into the society. When she wears gharara, when she does not make an eye contact, she is reflecting a woman who is willing to follow the physical confines, because if she does not follow the physical confines, she would be misfit for the society, just like Nirma being a misfit for society. Okay, I think with this I have covered more or less all the concepts that are mentioned on next pages. I already discussed the role of logo and toko that is mentioned here. And I said logo is the father and toko is the son. And symbolic order actually requires that son should walk into the shoes of the father, right? So because He's an investment in the capital, and he will return the revenue. So it's a system of consumerism that symbolic order actually also represents. Okay. Um all it says that the viewer, while watching these scenes or while hearing the dialogues, is lost into unwritten text and apparently trivial scenes. Okay, and turns and twists in the scene uh, help him, uh, they pull him into the action, which means that though he's sitting on a seat in the cinema, trivial scenes take on the shape of enduring form of life, and he identifies with the scene and gets absorbed into action through the image of his like, which is the male protagonist in the scene. And many of the songs and scenes can refer to innuendos, which means that something may not be there, but if you hear, for example, post 1979 films included gestures like flying kiss, or a sound that one could create, a sound that represented kind of kissing or something. This kind of sounds were also excised from earlier films, but they were not removed from later films. So, as a matter of fact, you can see that visual and textual pleasure was different in pre and post 1979 films. Um, uh, this article does not mention certain other images of Punjabi jettis, but I would say that probably you will find an article here that that is on representations of women in Pakistani films. I will post that article here. And that article actually mentions other images of jettis, and I would say those images are of, for example, Madam Bavri. Madam Bavri is somebody who takes revenge from the rapist, and she becomes calm after taking revenge from the rapist. I think if you write Madam Bavri here, you will probably find that woman. So rape scenes would also offer some kind of pleasure, but they would end when Madam Bavri takes revenge. So there is another Punjabi jetti um, that is not Madam Bavri, but her name is Bali Jetti. So Bali Jetti will also take revenge from the rapist, but she will not become calm after taking the revenge. She will be calm after repeating all the events that happened to her. So you can see that Bali Jetti is an extreme of women who represent jettis, and all of these women are very different from the protagonist of Urdu films. Uh, it does not mean that real life would be different for Urdu speaking or Punjabi speaking. It only means what images Urdu films presented and what images Punjabi uh, films presented. And Punjabi films offered images of a number of jettis that range from Noor Jahan in Pate Khan. She is a traditional Punjabi woman, and Dirty Dancer, which is Nirma in Sher Lahore, and we heard this song Jogi Jogi. I said if you write Madam Bavri here, you will find a clip or images of Madam Bavri, and if you write Bali Jetti here, you will find clips of Bali Jetti. Bali Jetti is an aggressive female who preys men. He takes revenge in every manner. She repeats every event that happened to her. And she uses vulgar language also, because in many cases we do not think women use vulgar language, Bali Jatti does. Because she takes complete revenge. She is not happy with with the murder of the rapist, or just by taking revenge from the rapist, like Madame Bavri. Madame Bavri becomes calm after taking the revenge. Bali Jatti repeats every event. She is aggressive. She carries a Kalashnikov. She uses vulgar language, and Jugat, etc. Ribald, Jugat. And you would say that, she can use vulgar language. So that's why I'm saying that Bali Jatti is very different from women that we see. And one last kind of Jattis would be Heer of Heer Ranjha, right? So you can see that Heer appears very different in this song, for example. You know, so Heer actually throws a lot of fodder on Ranjha. She's trying to distract Ranjha. She's trying to gain Ranjha's attention in this scene, right? So when I say that Heer is very different, so you can see that it is not Ranjha who is trying to distract Heer. It is Heer who is trying to distract Ranjha, right? So Heer is considered epitome of love in Punjabi culture. In many ways, Heer is there. She has been there since 13th century. She is not a creation of Waris Shah, because we know it as Heer Waris Shah. Waris Shah wrote all these things perhaps 500 years after the character was created. And I said that Heer attracts Ranjha for premarital love, and she also has an affair with Ranjha, post-marital affair with Ranjha. She runs away with Ranjha. She leaves her husband for Ranjha. Heer faces honor killing, right? So you would see that traditional Punjabi Jatti is somewhere between this character Heer and Urdu speaking Chui Mui girl. She is confident, she is different, but all these Jattis are very different from each other. So Dirty Dancer is a different Jatti, and Heer is a different Jatti. She would do anything for love, whether premarital or postmarital love. Ranjha appears feminine. Postmarital love affairs. Heer is considered classic, and she is considered, like epitome of love in Punjab. Okay. So, any question about the images that I have mentioned? I think with this I would close today's session. I'm sorry I do not have light at home. I mentioned earlier I do not have electricity, but I'm happy we actually completed today's session, and we survived on the UPS. All right, any question on any of the characters? I have marked everybody's attendance, Arsalan, but I think I perhaps marked your attendance in the second slot. I have marked perhaps 1 to 2 people absent today. Ji, any question? Okay, all right. If no question, I hope I hope you have understood what we discussed today. If you have any question about any of the characters, do discuss in the next class if you want to discuss. And I would say that try selecting any of the women we discussed today, any of the jattis or if any of the characters we discussed today. Try selecting perhaps a film that actually focuses on any of these women. And why not try analyzing these characters at least for an assignment, if not for a final exam. I normally allow students to I normally allow them to develop their assignments into midterm exam and final exam as well, which means that you can continue developing any of your papers from beginning till end. So we have discussed a number of topics so far. We perhaps have discussed, we perhaps had 7 classes at least until today. So I suggest that if you find any of these topics interesting, pick up that topic and just send me some sort of proposal or suggestion or a short assignment on a topic of interest, any topic from the 7 sessions, and write something, perhaps 2-3 pages on that particular topic, and let's see if you can develop that into your midterm exam or final exam. So I'm just suggesting send me a short assignment on a topic of choice from any of class readings, and then we'll see if any of you is interested in developing that assignment into a midterm exam or final exam. In a normal semester, I do give 4 assignments and 1 midterm exam and final exam, but I think it won't be possible because in summer we have at least 3 classes per week. So we perhaps do not have time for so many assignments and so many, like 4 assignments and 1 midterm and 1 final exam and 1 or 2 presentations. So workload or assignment or exam load would be a bit lower than what we do in a normal semester. Even still, I would want at least 1 well-written paper that you complete by the end of the semester. All right?
Okay, miss.
So think about it. I have given an assignment. I would read your assignment. When you submit it on Saturday, I'll try giving you feedback ASAP, which means anytime during next week. Okay? So it would help in developing a mid and final exam. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll close the session.